welcome back to Origins. We're here at this is the Evil Hat booth?
Yes.
Yeah, doing an interview with Alex Roberts, who has designed these awesome games. Once again, we have our Jenga interview format, and Greg's here with us too this time. Yay! Possibly our last interview of Origins, so we're so glad that you could be here with us.
Good.
Just to recap, because I like to recap the colors at the beginning of every interview. The red questions are questions about your experience in the board game industry. Blue questions are questions about you and your games. And green questions are random, so they're like anything we might come up with. So that helps you sort of direct the conversation a little bit, and also lets us direct the conversation a little bit. And don't forget, we will have to knock the tower down at the end of the interview.
Perfect.
Very important step.
All right. So you get the first poll.
All right. We'll do a blue one. Start personal.
Awesome. You and your games. Do you want to ask the first question?
Sure. So I guess we should start with Starcrossed, which is, as I understand it from Jacob, the reason we were so excited to get you on this interview. It has a Jenga tower at the core of the mechanics.
That's right, yes. So if you've ever played the role-playing game Dread, it's very similar to that. It's a little more elaborate, and it's also 2 players. So instead of being terrifying, it's, well, actually still terrifying because it's about love and feelings and crushes.
Right.
So it's a 2-player game of forbidden love. It uses a tower to tell a story of a relationship that, as it grows increasingly close, grows increasingly unstable. It's about people who really, really want to, but really, really shouldn't. And as you kind of escalate the intimacy between the 2 characters, you have to pull bricks. If the tower falls, they act on their feelings. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, or what that looks like at all, is up to you, and really depends on how you've been playing the game up to that point.
Awesome. It's sort of like dexterity-based fog of love.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Awesome. Very cool. All right.
Do you want to draw first for our side?
Yeah.
All right.
I think, it makes the most sense to me to go in order.
Clockwise.
Yeah. So.
Spatial reasoning, yeah. You really want a green one, huh?
I do. I always like the green questions.
You do love the green one.
And I may have warned Alex about my favorite question, so she's prepared. What are your hobbies outside of board games?
So something that I'm getting really into these days is plant identification.
Wow.
I really, really like going for long walks. I like hanging out in the forest for long, aimless periods of time. And I just moved to a different part of the country. I live in Victoria, BC.
Oh, wow.
So I'm around all these new, beautiful native plants I've never seen before. And so I'm trying to get better at knowing my forest friends and recognizing them. And I find it makes walking a lot more fun because it feels like running into people that you know instead of just, seeing a crowd.
That's awesome.
That is I don't think we've ever had that answer.
No.
It's
in
very
all the
fun.
time that you've been
Yeah,
asking.
that's awesome.
And sometimes they're edible, so I can go into the forest and have a snack.
Yeah. I can barely recognize the plants in my own front yard.
Oh yeah, I've got nothing.
But that is my husband's job. All right.
And then it's back to you, actually.
Oh,
And
okay.
so we'll function
it's
as a team, and so we
Okay,
just
right.
trade off.
Yeah.
Okay, well we'll do a red question.
A red question.
Let's really make this thing.
Precarious.
Yeah, there we go. That's fun.
Oh man.
It's pretty wobbly already.
You can tell I've played a lot of this game because of this game.
We have also played a lot of Jenga, so this might be interesting.
We have you like to say we've gotten a lot better at Jenga since we started doing this.
I
and
used
it's
to
totally
not
true.
want to touch the board at all. Like, I'm gonna knock it over.
So 2 games published now that I am aware of. How long have you been in game design?
I feel like I've been playing role-playing games for, I don't know, probably only about 5 years. I mean, I played a little bit of D&D in high school, and then, about 5 years ago, I just got introduced to some people who were playing, started playing, and then I just found out that when you hang out with people who are making games, you will eventually, whether you like it or not, start making games.
The bug will bite.
It just kind of happens to you. Yeah.
That's awesome. My turn?
Wait, is it my turn? I haven't
Your
pulled
turn.
one yet.
Your
Okay.
turn, my question.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Nope. Yeah. No.
Oh, man.
Yes. All right. There we go.
All right. Well, awesome. I'm excited to ask about this game for the Queen. Jen, tell us a little bit about the game, and I'm really curious to hear about the art in the game.
Yes. Okay. So For the Queen is a game that I made just as we were wrapping up production on Starcrossed. And I made it, I mean, Starcrossed was like years of my life that I was completely devoted to it. For the Queen, the first draft I basically wrote in a day. I kind of just woke up before my alarm one day and had the idea for it and went nuts. I had been playing Alexandra Santovska's The Beast, which is also like a card-based prompt game, although it's very different. You can Google it. So I came up with this and I had no intention of publishing it whatsoever. It was a stack of index cards for the longest time. But I ran it at just a tiny house con. And Sean Nittner, who we can see over here from Evil Hat, played it, and he just said, hey, I want to publish this. And it was in such a simple format that it did not take very long. And at some point he said, okay, so illustrations, art. And I was like, oh no, it doesn't need illustrations, it doesn't need art. We don't need to do that. It's just questions, it's all about the text and the ideas. But we talked it over, and I am so glad they talked me into it, because you can see what we ended up doing is hiring 14 different artists to illustrate 14 different queens, based on a lot of different concepts and ideas about what a queen can look like.
Right.
And the actual team behind it, this was important to me, is just as diverse as the art itself. And I am so happy to work with all of these artists. They were amazing. The stuff that we came up with was just like
these are absolutely
incredible.
stunning.
And I'm so glad that people are really drawn into this, because the game is really about building up this character, right? Nobody plays the queen. It's all about coming up with characters as you go and just letting your ideas kind of go in whatever direction they might. And so I like people being able to see all of the different possibilities. That's awesome. It makes me happy.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah, these are incredible.
All right.
That was me, so it's
Your
back to you.
go.
Oh, it's my turn?
Yep. I'm gonna leave the cards out.
Whatever. Okay, that's a red one.
Red to you.
Red to me. You don't have to deal with it this time. She gets all the red questions all the time, and she doesn't like it. You mentioned a small house con.
Yeah.
I guess you're in the Pacific Northwest.
I am now, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How have you found the experience of getting involved in the game design community? Has it just been very welcoming? It sounded like you were friends with some game designers before you started designing yourself.
Yes.
They just sort of welcomed you into the fold and said, yeah, absolutely, let's do this. You're one of us now.
That's kind of how it worked. I started going to conventions. I started with a con called Dream Nation, which is actually in New Jersey. It's one of the double exposure cons. They also do Metatopia and DemsCon.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
And I'd been to a couple of cons before, and I kind of thought it wasn't really my scene. But I went there, and I had just started LARPing, like doing live action games. I had been playing role-playing games for maybe a year or two at that point. And I just went, and I had never played with anyone outside of my little home group before. And I was just like floored by how friendly everyone was, by how excited everyone was, by everyone had brought the things that they never get to play, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what you do when you go to a con. So I felt welcomed and held just like instantly. I was so happy. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. My go.
What are you going to take?
Don't know. This is quite the tower here.
You probably shouldn't push that green one yet.
Yeah, I know.
Feeling it out.
Yeah, well, I joke, this is how my dad plays Jenga.
Tap,
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 tap.
tap. Oh,
What's
it's
the-
woodpecker style.
Right.
It's legit.
What's that game? Icebreaker? Is that the game with the little hammer
yeah.
and the ice? Yeah.
Oh, I didn't plan that.
Ooh, the green one.
All right.
So, traditionally, I have a favorite question as well, which is what's your favorite donut? I'm going to change it up a little bit.
Favorite donut?
Well, the question I'm actually going to ask is, if you have a favorite pizza topping, what is it?
Pineapple. Come at me.
Yes.
Thank you. I don't like to get this controversial in interviews.
I was going to say,
you
that's
know.
fighting words. We're going to start a flame war here.
I would feel that very strongly. Pineapple's delicious. Why don't you want the
Pineapple on
sweet with the
pizza.
salty?
Pineapple belongs on pizza.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
you heard it here, not first. This debate has been raging for some time, but this is the definitive word. Pineapple on pizza.
Undebatable.
All right. More games questions. Can you walk us through the gameplay of For the Queen?
Absolutely.
Admittedly, I'm more curious about this because I'm very drawn to art.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So walk us through the gameplay and how that plays out.
Absolutely. So the whole game is this deck of cards,
Right.
and the first cards that you go through are the instruction cards, and they are numbered. And so you actually just plop these down in the middle of the table like this. You go around in a circle reading the instruction cards, and they will explain the entire way that the game works.
Oh, awesome.
And then you go through the prompt cards. At this point, you've already shuffled through the queen cards and picked
Sure.
yourself out a queen. And then, in the same way you went through the instruction cards, we go around the table, people pick a prompt card. What brings out the queen's kindness? There's also a card that says, what brings out the queen's cruelty? Right? They're just questions about your character, the questions about the queen, questions about the world that you live in. And so you just answer them. Just answer whatever comes to mind. And so slowly, as we're going around answering these questions, we're building up the world. Why are we with the queen? What is she like? What are we like? What's happening? Until you eventually hit a card that says, the queen is under attack. Do you defend her? And when that card comes up, everyone answers it, and then the game ends. So we always end on a cliffhanger, which I like.
Oh, wow.
Yeah?
It makes me think of the Lady or the Tiger story.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not familiar with that story, but I trust that it's a good one and relevant.
And ends on a cliffhanger.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
There we go.
It's pretty famous. You should read it.
I should. Okay.
We'll
I
talk
will.
about it another time.
We'll bone up on my literature knowledge.
right.
Is my block?
Yes. I think so. Oh, wow.
This is making me nervous. Aha! But I got it.
It does make interviews a little more interesting.
So hearing you describe for the Queen just now in sort of this very open-ended gameplay about exploring who is the Queen, who are we in relation to the Queen, and also hearing your description of Starcrossed, it sounds like relationships between people is a very compelling space for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess my question is, what prompted you to bring that in particular into game design?
I think no matter what game you're playing, you can find the aspects of it that are fun for you, right? 10 different people can be playing, Dungeons and Dragons or whatever, and some people are just absolutely stoked about world building and figuring that out. Some people are absolutely stoked about, meticulously creating characters that are interesting to play or that have particular roles in combat. Some people are very strategic. And what I just found myself just drawn to over and over and over again, doesn't matter what system I was playing, is I always just wanted to know, what do these characters think about each other? How do they feel about each other? What impact does their relationship to each other have on what they do? And I don't know, I get that way about all media. I get that way about real life. I'm fascinated the way that people interact. So those are always the most interesting things to me in the design space.
That's awesome.
Very nice.
All right. Here we go. Yeah.
It's getting tough. It's tight through the middle there.
Oh, we're good.
You dodged the bullet long enough.
Okay, red.
Red question for me. It's all right. I have one.
Okay.
So tell us about what it was like finding your publishers and making those. How did that work out for you?
So I started out working for Bully Pulpit Games. They make
Okay.
Fiasco, The Warren, Night Witches, lots of other games. And I was working for them in a totally non-design, not creative capacity. I was doing their marketing and some admin stuff, some project management. And I've been working for them for quite a while, almost a year. I'd managed Kickstarters for them and that kind of thing. And we had a couple of meetings in a row where Steve and Jason, who own the company, were talking about how they wanted to publish something new and they wanted to publish something really different. They said, something that isn't by Jason Morningstar, that's something that Jason would never make, that's totally outside of that whole wheelhouse. And, ideally, not by another white guy, too. We would love to lift someone else up and do something really different. And I was just sitting there going, yeah, that's a great idea, guys. Yeah, I agree. I think it took me till the third meeting before I went, I've been working on something. Do you guys want to see it? Would you be interested at all? And Starcrossed was like a jumble of notes at that point, but they still got excited about it, and they knew that people had been playtesting it and enjoying it. And so they asked if they could publish it, and I was like, oh my god, yes.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
yeah, that's how that worked.
Awesome. And then Evil Hat with
Evil Hat was same thing. I wasn't even thinking about publishing it, and I just got it out there and was play testing it and showing it off to people, and then the right person saw it. Right.
That's awesome. Wow, very cool.
Sorry,
All right.
fly bust in my face.
My question. Your question.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, we're back to that.
Yes. That happens sometimes. So,
I was gonna say maybe come at it from this side because we're getting pretty thin on that angle.
well, this is going to be precarious, but it's done now.
There you go. We survived.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
We survived to ask another question.
So, with Starcrossed, it's specifically designed to be 2 players, and it's
Yes.
specifically designed to kind of explore these themes of forbidden love and what if and shouldn't we and all those sorts of things. Have you received any feedback that it gets intense or therapeutic or anything? It just seems to me like a game that explores those types of themes could have very specific emotional resonance for people who play it.
Yes, and I think lots of people for some reason just like to tell me that they will never play it. I'm like, okay, sure.
All right, yeah.
Wasn't.
Thank
all
you for
right.
your feedback.
Yeah, thanks.
I guess.
But then other people are like, I can't wait to play this. I'm dying to play this. I think it can get very intense. I mean, the nice thing is it can also get very silly, and so I think if people want to kind of put a little shield up for themselves, then you can totally do that,
Right.
and you can make it a very silly comedy of errors style story, which I love seeing. It's very joyful.
Yeah.
But some people, like including myself, have really driven towards a really painfully compelling reason why they can't be together, or why it doesn't feel right, or why the consequences are not worth it. And I love that, and I love the fact that you can do both. It's really, really important to me that I, as the designer, am never pushing people into an emotional space they don't want to be. I will gladly, happily invite them and walk them up the stairs to where they want to go. But
That's awesome.
there's a lot of escape hatches in the emotional experience of StarCrossed.
Which is good. I feel like that's extremely important for exactly the reasons you lay out.
Yeah,
That
I think so.
sometimes,
You
yeah,
and
people don't
Hunter
wanna
may
go
need
there.
to play Starcrossed.
Right.
I endorse
we had
this.
previously played Fog of Love, and it's kind of a thing that we do that.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yes. My husband and Greg here played Fog of Love as lesbians, and it was possibly one of the most entertaining games I've ever seen in my life.
Yay!
Is
it's
it
my
my
turn.
Yep.
That's right. You took the blue.
I
I keep forgetting where we are.
did. We're back to red.
Are you guys getting nervous about the tower? Do you think it's going to fall?
I
A
mean,
little bit, but I mean,
It's fine.
she's played some Jenga.
No fear.
this was a mistake. You're too good at this. No,
What's your question?
I don't remember. I
Right.
just completely don't remember. I have to think of a new one. All right, Red, gaming industry. We talked about publishers. We talked about things.
This is the best.
Shut up. So, as you think about sort of continuing forward and designing more games and those sorts of things, do you want to stay in the same space that you've been playing in, or do you want to sort of branch out and kind of explore new themes?
I think I'm always going to be interested in games that are really games that are very story heavy and very relationship heavy. Games that hide as much of their mechanics under the hood as possible.
Sure.
Games that don't require a lot of preparation. It's really important to me. The faster, I think I just have a very short attention span. I want to start playing right away.
Sure. And a lot
so-
of players do too.
Yeah. So I think those are just things that are going to be important to me and that I'm going to be drawn to. But in terms of subject matter, like, I don't know, whatever interests me. Like, I definitely don't want to get stuck in a rut or be known for something, another like Alex Roberts game that's just like this. The things that I'm working on right now that are kind of in progress or just ideas. I want to keep exploring different things.
Cool.
Follow up. Would you ever make a game about plant identification?
That would be really fun. I do not feel like I'm nearly good enough at Plant ID to even start,
I mean-
but it would be very fun.
I mean, Wingspan, it worked for Wingspan. That's pretty much, all of the
That's
different
true,
birds.
and Wingspan is wonderful. I love birds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elizabeth is actually local to DC, where
Oh,
we are.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll make the wingspan for plants.
Leaf
span.
Do it.
All right. This is my poll, and now it's very precarious
what do
here.
you
Did I make things difficult for you?
A little. All right. No. What am I thinking? Aha. Is this?
You finally found one. Yeah, that's legal. It's not on the top row, so
Yeah.
you're fine.
So, as I understand it, in addition to games, you also have a podcast. Since that's a project of yours, I wanted to make sure to ask about that too.
Yeah, I've been doing backstory for like over 2 years. Yeah, it's on the One Shot Network. I used to host a discussion podcast called the Tabletop Superhighway a long time ago. And when that show came to an end, James D'Amato from the One Shot Network got in touch with me and said, "Hey, we want to do a new show. Do you want to pitch something?" And at that point, I'd started meeting people. I'd started going to cons, and I got so excited to talk to people who were making stuff that I was excited about, or people who were organizing events, or who did really behind-the-scenes work and that kind of thing. But you can never talk to people for long enough at cons. So I basically made backstory to say, okay, sweet. I want someone's undivided attention for an hour, and I just want to know what is behind what they do. What are they excited about? What are they playing that they're really stoked on? What are they trying to do with their work? So it's been a very, very satisfying project.
That's very cool.
It's coming to an end at the end of the summer.
Okay.
For various reasons. I have other stuff that is demanding my time and attention right now. And I'm like, I feel really confident about it. I'm glad to intentionally end it rather than let it fade.
Right.
But I'm really going to miss it because I've had such wonderful conversations with people.
That's awesome.
That's great. Sounds really interesting.
All right, your turn.
Okay.
She's way better at Jenga than we are.
Like I said, this was a mistake. No, I'm actually really happy. You're the first person who's really, truly embraced the format.
Yeah.
Even if that includes us. Crap, I'm dry on reds.
Now you know my pain.
I know. Actually, I will go ahead and piggyback on sort of the answer that you just gave. So, backstory, having a chance to sit down with people and talk about things that you wouldn't normally get a chance to dive into. Has that been... I don't want to say helpful because that sounds very utilitarian, right? But have you found that you've made contacts and sort of lifelong acquaintances from doing that project?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, generally speaking, if I have someone in backstory, I probably already know them or have met them, but not always. And sometimes, sometimes I've reached out to someone in Poland or Malaysia or Korea who I've never spoken to, and I'm like, hey, I want to know what is up with this person. And then after you have this really lovely hour-long cozy chat, I do feel connected to them, and it's been very nice. Yeah. And I mean, utilitarian, I'm always asking about things that I'm struggling with. I love talking to other designers and saying, okay, when you hit this point, I don't know, what gets you through that, or how do you figure that out? Or when you are doing collaborative stuff, how do you manage this? And I think it's interesting for the listener, and that's always the most important thing. But also, I want to know.
Right.
It's helpful for me.
Sure.
Because you're a listener too.
Yeah, there you go.
I think it's me.
It is you.
I have to puzzle through this precarious situation.
How much? Yeah.
Oh wow. All right.
Okay.
That worked out actually surprisingly well.
Green. What is your favorite board game?
I don't know if I can pick a favorite.
You can pick a top 3. That's where most people end up. Yeah.
Can I give you the one that instantly came to mind?
Absolutely.
The first thing that jumped into my mind. So in 1980, I want to say 5-6, TSR made an officially licensed All My Children board game. So it's about the soap opera at that time. It has all the characters. I've never seen an episode in my life. And it has all the characters and all the locations that they usually go to. And it was it's so weird, it's so unique. I think it was a total flop. It's very difficult to get a hold of a copy, but I completely loved it. The whole thing just involves taking your characters and walking them to certain locations where you can play certain event cards, but other people can trump your event cards with more dramatic things. And so you end up with this really, really like nicely emulated soap opera like dynamics, like rhythm of just, well, it turns out I'm carrying your child. Oh, well, someone else bursts into the room and says, this is a fake pregnancy. And someone else bursts into the, of that just constantly escalating more and more ridiculous. Oop.
It's all good.
1:30.
It's now what?
Took him a minute.
You can trade your pins at the pin bazaar.
Oh, trading pins. Very important at Origins.
I mean, I gather a lot of people are pretty into it.
It's true. I've seen quite a few around here.
Yeah, I got some buttons out at the Pride Parade. So I'm like,
That's nice.
Red Cross still doing a blood drive in A114. We still need heroes to take time out of your day to do that as well. Thank you.
all right.
Right. So it's a strange game. It's a little bit broken. I have this urge to redesign it periodically, but it's a very inviting way for people to get into more of a storytelling mindset when they're playing a game, because it's so ridiculous. You can't get serious and competitive about it, and it leads to very, very ridiculous scenes that wrap up and jump abruptly between each other, and lots of inside jokes among my friends have resulted from this totally wacky game. So I'm a little bit in love with it. I love things that are kind of broken.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't like perfect games.
Sounds like it could be redesigned with a different theme. I
Right?
mean, I think that could definitely work.
Yes, get at me.
Yeah. All right. We did get a 5-minute warning, so this will probably be our last question, and it is your pull. So
Okay.
you get to pick.
I gotta pull a green then.
All right. Question.
Green question. Origins. We
Yep.
talked a little bit about how you enjoy coming to conventions and just the experience. This year in particular, what has been your favorite thing that you've done, or the favorite thing that you've been party to?
At Origins?
At this Origins, yes.
Last night, we ran a 5-table game of Starcrossed. So it's a 2-player game, but we had 10 players, and they were all playing in their own separate games, but it was all set on the same space station. So we had some pre-gen characters for them, so they're all different characters on the space station, and whatever happened in any one game would affect what happened on the rest of the space station. So we would periodically make station announcements about, there was a fire on this deck, or this was happening over there, robot uprising, etc. I love making a little 2-player, no GM game, but it's nice to have a big group and to see different things happening and to just make it a little more dynamic. So it's very fun. We did that at Big Bad Con last year as well, where we actually had 20 players.
Wow.
And I don't know, I like it. It's very energetic.
That's awesome.
It gets out of hand.
Great.
All right. Time has come to crash the tower. There you go.
No hesitation.
Should I have waited?
No, that was perfect.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is really fun.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We hope that you enjoyed our Jenga interviews this year at Origins. We may have a little bit more content for you, but we also hope we're going to go play some games today. So, bye. Bye.